Hi, my name is Dakota and I'm going to be presenting an introduction to contraceptives on behalf of CIME. Various symbols will come up in this presentation. I will briefly go over what each of them mean. To indicate the effectiveness of preventing pregnancy for the different methods of contraceptive presented, we are going to be using 3 dots. The green dot represents a very effective method, the yellow dot represents a moderately effective method, and the red dot tells us that it's not very effective. The clock tells us how frequently we need to take the contraceptive in order for it to work. The person whispering tells us that the contraceptive is easy to hide. The healthcare practitioner, without the red cross through it, tells us that we require a prescription in order to take this contraceptive, and the one without the red cross tells us that we do not require a prescription. The yellow biohazardous triangle here tells us there is a risk of getting an STBBI with this contraceptive method. An STBBI is a sexually transmitted blood-borne infection such as AIDS, HIV, chlamydia, etc. that can be transmitted during unprotected sex. The green checkmark tells us the advantages of the contraceptive, and the do not enter sign tells us the disadvantages. Now, before we get into the content of this presentation, I wanted you guys to do a quick quiz to test the knowledge on the subject. Take your time to answer these 3 true or false questions, and we will take them up at the end of the presentation. You can pause this video at this time if you wish. Here, I will be describing 3 methods of contraceptive: the calendar of fertility awareness, pre-ejaculation withdrawal method, and abstinence. The calendar method, fertility awareness, is when you track the woman's menstrual cycle in order to calculate when the woman will most and least likely be able to conceive. The woman is least fertile after her period. It is only 70% effective, which is not very good. You must always keep track of the cycle and check before intercourse. The pre-ejaculation withdrawal method is when the male partner does not ejaculate inside the woman in order to prevent pregnancy. It is only 78% effective. The abstinence method is when the individual does not have intercourse at all. It is 100% effective, but is it realistic? All of these methods do not protect against STBBIs. The advantages are that they are natural and that there are no side effects, but the disadvantages are that they are high risk for mistakes, which can lead to pregnancy, and they require cooperation from the partner. These methods do not require a doctor's appointment or a prescription. For the rest of this presentation, we'll go over the effective methods for birth control. These methods are covered by the Interim Federal Health Plan for asylum seekers and cost nothing. There's no copayment required. You can get these methods of birth control at any pharmacy with a prescription from the doctor. The first 2 methods we will discuss are the hormonal IUD and the contraceptive injection. The hormonal IUD is a small device that is inserted inside the uterus to prevent pregnancy. To get an IUD, you first need to make an appointment with the doctor and get a prescription for the device. You then go with the prescription to the pharmacy and pick up the device. Then you book another appointment with the doctor to have it inserted. On the day of insertion, the doctor uses a speculum, same as used in a pap smear, to open the vagina and insert the device in the opening of the cervix. They are 99.9% effective. They do not provide protection from STBBIs. They're only needed to be inserted once every 5 to 6 years. They're very easy to hide. Advantages include no effect on fertility. They reduce periods. You got it and forget about it while still having protection. The disadvantages are that insertion is uncomfortable and there are side effects. Your partner can't feel the IUD during sex. If they do, you can have the strings cut shorter. Anyone can use them, including young women who have never been pregnant. There are no health risks for women, no risk of complications if you want to get pregnant later in life. The levels of hormones are less than over oral contraceptive pills. IUDs do not cause abortions as the method of birth control. They prevent the sperm from entering the egg. The contraceptive injection is a hormone that gets injected into the bloodstream to prevent pregnancy. It requires that you go to the doctor to get a prescription for the injection. This prescription can be used for future injections for that year. You then pick up the medicine from the pharmacy and go to the doctor to have it injected. You return for an injection for every 3 months. It is only 94% effective. It does not protect against STBBIs. It's easy to hide. Advantages are that it produces shorter, later periods, and that you do not have to think about birth control every time you have intercourse. The disadvantages are that you have to remember to get injections every 3 months or else it's ineffective, and there are side effects. In studies, the Depo-Provera led to approximately 1 out of 5 women noticing that they were shedding more hair than usual, but the amount lost was not large.
Hi everyone, my name is Virginie and I'll be presenting to you the second part of the workshop. So now we are going to discuss 3 other hormonal contraceptive means, including the NuvaRing, the patch, and the oral contraceptive pill. So to start with the NuvaRing, it's a flexible ring that contains estrogen and progesterone, and you basically insert it into the vagina. You keep the ring in place for 3 weeks, and then you remove it for 1 week, at which time you are going to get your period. And then you get a new ring to insert every month. The second one is the patch. So this is a patch that you stick on your skin, and it contains estrogen and progesterone. So you change the patch every week for 3 weeks, and then for the 4th week, you do not wear the patch to allow for menstrual bleeding. A helpful tip if you want to use it for a prolonged time is to rotate location in order to keep its effectiveness. So for example, you can start with the arm, then put the patch on the stomach, on the buttock, on the shoulder, and then you start the rotation again. And lastly, the oral contraceptive pill. So there are 2 kinds, one pill that contains estrogen and progesterone, and another pill that contains progesterone only. So basically for the pill, you take 1 pill every day for 3 weeks. And on the 4th week, you do not take any pill, or you take what we call a sugar pill. And during that week, you are going to get your period. Just a reminder that it's very important to take the pill at the same time every day, otherwise it becomes less effective. So those 3 means of contraception, the ring, the patch, and the pill, are easy to hide, and when they are used correctly, they all have the same effectiveness of 91%. So the advantages of these methods is that they can reduce periods, and they can also alleviate your PMS symptoms. However, some of the disadvantages are that you have to remember to take the pill or to change the ring or the patch. It's also important to mention that the pill can cause more side effects than the NuvaRing or the patch. Amongst other things, it can cause significant mood changes in some people, and there are many different brands and types of pill on the market right now. So each person is going to experience different side effects based on the brand of pill that they are taking. So this means it might take a few tries, and you might need to try with a few different brands before you find the one that works for you. As well, none of these contraception means can protect you against sexually transmitted diseases or blood-borne infection. And they also all require a doctor's appointment because you will need a prescription in order to acquire them. Another means of contraception is the condom, which basically acts as a barrier to prevent the sperm from getting into the vagina. It has to be used before each intercourse, and you need a new one every time. So the advantages of this, the main one is that it does protect against sexually transmitted infection and blood-borne infection. It is also cheap and quite easy to get. As for the disadvantages, you will need your partner's cooperation in order to use it, and it does require effort and a little bit of technique in order for it to be effective, and you will require a new condom every time you have sex. It is sold over the counter in many different places like pharmacies, grocery store, and gas stations. And you can also often get them for free from some health organizations. So now we are going to review the answers of the pre-quiz that was presented to you at the beginning of the workshop. So the first statement was, I have to pay for my birth control under the interim federal health plan. And the answer is, all hormonal methods of birth control described in this presentation are actually covered and you do not need to pay for them. The only one that is not covered are condoms. The second statement was, condoms are the only contraceptive method that protect against STBBIs. And the answer is yes, indeed. Condoms are the only effective method to protect you against such diseases. And lastly, abstinence protects you from both getting pregnant and from STBBIs. So basically, if you are abstaining from all forms of sex, then this is true. However, there are many different ways to have sex. So we're talking oral sex, vaginal sex, and anal sex, for example. Only vaginal sex will get you pregnant, but from all forms of sex, you can get a sexually transmitted infection or a bloodborne infection. Therefore, we recommend that you wear the condom to protect you from infection during all forms of sex. And now we are going to discuss emergency contraception, often referred to as Plan B or ELA1. So did you know that you can get emergency contraception from your local pharmacy without a prescription? Let me explain. So there are two main brands of emergency contraceptive pills, The first one is Plan B, which you can get with a prescription, or you can just show up to your pharmacy and ask for it over the counter, and the pharmacist will give it to you. The second one is ELA1, and ELA1 does require a prescription from your doctor. So basically how it works is, if you decide not to go to a doctor first and not to get a prescription, you go to the pharmacy, ask for Plan B, and they will give it to you. However, they will charge you for a pharmacy consult fee, which varies between $10 and $30 depending on the pharmacy. However, when you get a prescription first to get either Plan B or ELA, the pharmacy will not charge you for a consult fee because it is included in the prescription. However, in both cases, whether you do or you do not get a prescription for your emergency contraceptive pill, the cost of the medication will be covered for Blue Cross and you will not need to pay for it. So you can take emergency contraception up to 5 days after having unprotected sex. However, it is important to mention that some emergency contraception brands will work better if you take them within the first 72 hours after having unprotected sexual relations. The medication is easy to take. You only have to follow the instructions of the pharmacist or the doctor. Lastly, I just want to mention that it is possible to experience some side effects as a result of taking the emergency contraceptive pill, such as nausea, vomiting, breast tenderness, irregular bleeding, and headache. So this is all for us today. I hope you were able to learn something, and thank you so much for listening.